Hi, I'm Nicole, and this is Nick's Picks. I just basically make a video once a month talking about the books that I picked out to read that month. So this video, we're going to be talking about the 3 books that I read in April. Before I do that, I will mention, as I did in my last video, that I decided to self-publish one of my own books. So if you like my vibe and you'd like to check out something that I've written, you can get Heart's Content Road by Nicole Avery on Amazon. Second Chance Romance, Dual Timeline, Slice of Life, if you like stuff like that, spice. It's in this book, and you can get it as an ebook, a paperback, or you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited. So, hope you check it out. Now, unfortunately, in April, it was not a great reading month. I was very disappointed with all of the books that I read this month. That's probably why I only read one of the 3 is a graphic novel. So that's probably only why I read 2 books and a graphic novel. And as I mentioned in my last video, this first book probably should have been a March book, but because it was so slow getting through it, it took forever. I was well into April before I finished it. So that is Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. Now let me say, I've read a bunch of Colleen Hoover books. I enjoy her books. This in particular looked very interesting to me because it wasn't just romance, but also kind of like romantic suspense. There was like mystery, a little bit of a thriller aspect going on here. So like, how can you go wrong? And it was pretty short. The whole book was, let me just double check, 299 pages. Okay, so a 300 page like suspenseful book by Colleen Hoover, who I like. It sounded like a home run. It just I didn't connect with it. It was very slow moving to me. I mean, I hate when I dislike the female main character, and that was definitely the case here. I did not like her. And I just kind of felt like even the writing, like I think she's a great writer, and I was so surprised that I just was not impressed with the writing in this book. The basic storyline, and she does in the beginning, she has like a disclaimer that none of this actually is, it's all fiction. It's not, based on whatever's going on in her life, but this is basically about an author, and something negative happens with a movie adaptation. And so she kind of like fell out of the spotlight, and, her fans kind of turned on her, and she lost her confidence and hasn't written in a while. But money's tight and she wants to get back into it. And so she goes to this cabin. She likes kind of writing for a couple of weeks, by herself in a cabin. So she goes to this cabin to write her next book after her first one after all of this happened. And then a police officer kind of shows up, and like something romantic kind of develops between them, and he kind of becomes her inspiration, gives her confidence back. What's happening with them, he's got a wedding band, so he's married, and her character in the book that she's writing is it's about 2 people, somebody that's having an affair with a married cop. And so it's like mirroring what she's writing, and it's giving her all this inspiration and confidence back. And after they're together, she is so prolific with what she writes that night and all that stuff. But something like isn't as it seems. Like you get like, there's like a suspicion there as to lines are blurred, and, is this real? Are we role playing? Because he'll, role play with her with the characters and all that kind of stuff. So you don't know what's going on. So again, it sounds good, and a lot of people said it was good, so I was really excited for it, but the pacing to me was so slow. There was a lot of saying the same thing over and over again, how she's feeling, the stuff she's struggling with morally, all this kind of stuff, over and over, the same things over and over again. It just, and I didn't like her, and it just kind of, even like the twist or what's going on, something happened, I don't remember how far into the book, well into the book, that surprised me. But the main, twist or answer to what's happening and all this kind of stuff at the end, I kind of figured something along those lines was going on. I wasn't like super, super shocked by anything. So even that really didn't pay off. I always say that I don't like to DNF books, and I don't. Especially once I've made it significantly into the book, I figure I might as well see what's going to happen. And a lot of people, especially when it's a book that a lot of people like, I feel like there must be a reason for it. Maybe the end is fantastic. I don't want to miss out on that. So I do stick them out. But if I ever, was going to DNF a book, this would probably be on that list. Because really it was a struggle to get through it, and, kind of ruined my reading, vibe and what I was doing. So, again, no hate for Colleen Hoover, her work. Like I do like other books by her, but this just, I didn't connect with it, and I would definitely not recommend it. The next book I read, which I also can't believe I was disappointed by, was Taurus Season by Brynne Weaver. Now, I prefer a paperback to a hardcover, so I even got the hardcover for this. I was so excited to read it. And the reason I was excited was because in February, I read the Ruinous Love Trilogy by Brynne Weaver. That's the Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, Scythe and Sparrow books. Butcher and Blackbird, it's a popular book, and it's a love story. It's a romance, but it's between two serial killers, and there's so much gore and horror. It blends like all these different genres and tropes and elements, and I loved it. And I loved all 3 books. I could talk about them forever. You could see my last video for that, but that's why I was so excited going into this. I thought she was going to be my new favorite author. So it started off strong, and actually this is connected to Butcher and Blackbird. It's not like a continuation kind of or anything like that, but it's almost like a spin-off. Like there was none of those characters are in this book, but the main character, the female main character here, was in Butcher and Blackbird, just a minor character that now we're exploring kind of like what happened with her and her storyline. So even that, the tie-in there, I was ready for this. And it started off strong. Same vibes where we have, this romance, but there's right off the bat killing and, serial killer stuff going on and all this stuff. The premise here is that it's a small town, and Harper kind of helps. She has a friend that's an old man, Arthur Lancaster, and he has a big, house in town, and she does his gardening and lives in the cottage, and she kills tourists that are annoying or whatever, not just annoying, that deserve it, and she kind of chops them up and buries them in the garden. And now there's somebody kind of hunting her down. So we kind of start off with the male main character, kind of finding her, but he's finding her because he's also a serial killer and he wants to kill her. So, there's the whole backstory there, a lot of good stuff, why he wants to do that. There's somebody else in town, and they kind of like strike up a truce for a minute to try to deal with that together. So it's like an enemies to lovers type thing. It's got all the makings for something that sounded so great, but it just, again, in the beginning, I was really, really into it. I actually really loved the characters, both the female character and the male main character. Story was good. It was moving. There was a lot of different elements of things. Her past is kind of, if you read Butcher and Blackbird, we have an inkling, but if, he doesn't, the male main character doesn't. So her past is like a mystery. And there's, like I said, a serial killer thing going on. There's a guy from like a crime group that's kind of like on to some stuff that's going on that they're trying to keep at bay. So there's a lot going on. And then maybe halfway through the book, it just died for me. It became the same thing where I feel like the same thing was being said over and over again. And it just was, nothing that I wanted to happen was happening. And the spice, even, I kind of liked it in the beginning, and then it kind of moved into something that I personally don't love when it comes to spice. And again, I can read all kinds of spice. I've read other like dark romances, and even if it's not something that, let's say, turns me on personally, I still can get excited about reading about it with other people doing it or something like that. But in this case, it did nothing for me. It didn't give me an ick. It didn't like turn me off, but there was a lot of like pain and stuff involved in the spice, and that's just, you know, not my thing and not something I even got excited about other people doing. Like it just did nothing for me, didn't enhance anything. I feel like that was starting to become almost annoying, like, because he has, all right, now we're going to do another spice scene, so we're holding off on getting to what I want to get to with all these mysteries going on to do this other thing that I wasn't even quite enjoying in this book, so it just seemed long in that sense. The chapters were very long, and I feel like I shouldn't talk, because even specifically in that book I just showed you that I wrote, my chapters are very long, but like, for example, like some of my chapters cover an entire day, but a couple of things happen during that day. So there's a lot of page breaks, like different scenes. So still like a natural place to stop. These were just like very long chapters. I was stopping mid-chapter, which is always like kind of annoying to like pick up reading mid-chapter. So yeah, just, and then the end, there was really like not a lot of payoff. Like maybe one thing got resolved, but the bigger things that you wanted to see, no. And there's like a cliffhanger. And yes, this is a trilogy. I know there's more books, but usually, or I shouldn't say usually, but I guess I was just expecting that sometimes when, even in a trilogy, some of the books can stand alone, especially the first one. Like I was thinking, let me get through this. I'm not going to DNF it. Let me get through this, see what happens. And if anything, I just won't go on to read the other books. But now I almost feel like I have to, because the stuff I was waiting for didn't even happen here. So, and it is left off on like a cliffhanger. So it was just, even the stuff that resolved brought up other things. So yes, I mean, it's meant to, I guess, play out through this series. The other difference, I guess, is because like the Butcher and Blackbird series, each book was about a different couple. So like each couple's story kind of got wrapped up, even though larger issues were at play and carried through the books. In this case, we're following like the same couple through all of these books, I guess. So that's why there's more of, I guess, unanswered questions hanging and all that kind of stuff. And just, but this to me was pure setup. Like really, you didn't get that satisfaction at the end from much. And it you know, it was decent sized, and I just felt like so much of this was unnecessary. We were saying the same things over and over, deliberating on the same things over and over, and I rather would have gotten to a little bit more of the mystery stuff that was going on here. So I like the characters, I like the banter, but again, the spice just didn't do it for me in this book because of the particular things that were happening. And even like, and I know this is a little weird to say because sometimes that is the case, like when you're dealing with the spice stuff, you like to fantasize and do things that you don't normally do. But like their relationship had one dynamic, and then the spice had a totally different dynamic. Like I couldn't believe someone that acted like her and, you know, all of that stuff wanted to do those things. Like all of a sudden it went from like, you know, feisty and everything to submissive and all that kind of stuff. Like it just, and again, I know sometimes that's exactly the case where like you do the opposite stuff when you're dealing with fantasies, but, and even in her case, her backgrounds, like there's a lot of emotional, psychological stuff probably playing into why she's enjoying some of these spicy things. So I get all that, but just in general, like we go from there, fun banter outside of the bedroom, and then all of a sudden it's like a completely different type of relationship there. And I just didn't see her character like that way. And I just feel like that also like didn't do it for me. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I still love Bryn Weaver. I love that Ruinous Love trilogy, but this to me was definitely not as good as that. I probably will pick up with the next book to see what happens. You know, if it wrapped up, I probably wouldn't have gone any further. I don't know if I would recommend somebody reading this. I don't know, honestly. Like, to me, I wouldn't say, oh, if you love Butcher and Blackbird, read this. Because I loved Butcher and Blackbird, and I did not love this. So I guess it's subjective. And, again, depends on some of the spicy stuff that you like and all that stuff. But it definitely dragged, and it was much more slow-moving to me than those other books. And I didn't love it. And then finally, in this book, I finished it before I finished Taurus season, because I just needed something like a pick-me-up to like, I was getting like slumpy like with the reading, like so I decided I've been wanting to read a graphic novel. I do enjoy horror graphic novels, so I ended up reading Hotel by John Lees, and I read this on my Kindle, so you can see some of the graphics there. the fact that I didn't even buy this, because I love, you know, as much as I will do Kindle stuff and read on my phone, I still love the physical copies of everything, especially with a graphic novel when you're dealing with the beautiful images and all of that stuff. The fact that I did not buy this says it all. It just, you know, it didn't do enough for me. I don't know what I was expecting. It was fine. I'm not saying it was terrible. It's basically about a roadside hotel, motel on Route 66, but not everybody could see it. Like, you know, you find it or it finds you, you know, like if you need it kind of thing. And we're kind of met with the desk person at this motel, and he's talking to you like you're checking in, and he tells you the story of some of the other guests that have stayed there. So it's like we hear 4 different stories. They do kind of like connect at some point. So that was kind of, you know, that was done well, but again, none of those stories were like to me over the top amazing, stuck with me, creeped me out. I mean, one of them actually did like kind of creep me out, not in like a great way. Like I just found something creepy and can't, you know, thought about it after, but other than that, like, I don't know, there's nothing that's really staying with me one way or the other. It was just okay. Like, I feel like it was just okay. I think this is a series and there are more. I'm probably not pursuing it any further. I'm probably not getting it for my collection. It was just okay. So if you like horror graphic novels, again, they're quick reads. I wouldn't say not to read it. You might like it. Again, the story was weaved well, I guess. And the images, you know, even the illustrations were fine, you know, but nothing to me, story-wise, anything-wise, was just like so over the top. Like, you gotta read this. I loved this. So unfortunately, that was like another bummer for me. So that's kind of it for April. If you watched my last video, I came off such great reading in the beginning of the year that this was very disappointing. So I really need, if you have a suggestion, comment, anything like a quick thriller, something that'll really like get me going again, that would be great. I gotta really pick my next books carefully because these were not great. And I do want to show you this. I forgot to show you this at Christmas time. My husband got me a cool gift. This is a bookmark that says Nick's Picks. So I really like that. I just want to show you. And so again, any suggestions for my May reads? I haven't started anything yet. Let me know, and I'll see you next month. Bye.